Okay, and then I saw one hand here.
You kind of touched upon it as the fact that there is no rehabilitation program set up for this population.
Okay, so yeah, it's kind of like we're trying to just wade in the water, figure out, see what works, what doesn't work. Okay, excellent. Anything else that you guys, challenges that we're facing? Yes?
Maybe just growing up with that, like one of the girls I had worked with, her mom, that was what her mom had done too, so her mom kind of got her.
And this is how guerrilla pimping works a lot of times in the gangs. There's nothing sweet about it. As Opal says, sometimes it is literally death by sex. Because what they're doing, you know, you're a product. So they'll pimp you out all day, and at night, it's the gang's turn. And sometimes there can be up to 400 members, and whoever wants a turn gets one. So there were 2 cases of 2 young women who literally died, bled out because of sex. So guerrilla pimping is by far the scariest, most brutal type. But another type that we see is CEO pimping. And this is a term that I coined because it's something that's not really out there as much. We've heard of the Romeo type pimps who, you know, are the daddy or the boyfriend, and we've heard of the guerrilla pimps who will kidnap girls. But the man who approached me my junior year in college, I was 20 years old, and I was in Atlanta, Georgia at Emory University. And he came up to me and my friends. He was well dressed, he was very polite, and he said, "Has anyone ever told you you should be a model?" So the makeup of a Romeo pimp. These are the actual pictures. They're younger. I mean, I don't know about the guy with the dreads, but some of them are handsome, you know. And this is not some scary monster. These are the type of people that are approaching our young women. They're confident, they're rich, either if they're faking it or really do have money. You know, on one pimp website they said, "I don't care if you have $500 to your name. You carry all those $500, and when you're taking her to McDonald's, you whip it out and let her see your stash." So the girls are going to think that they're rich, either whether they are or not. The perception is there. They're smooth talkers, they're authoritative, and this is a big one. They're willing to be daddy. They're not like the guerrilla pimps who just, you know, are going to come in and beat their chest and, you know, beat you into submission. They're really willing to take time to care for you, to love you, to discipline you, to really be that daddy role in your life. So they're patient, and for the most part, they're likable until, you know, stuff goes wrong. So there is a breaking process, and for this process, it's a combination of the grooming period and the breaking period, and there's 6 main steps that all of your girls, if they're involved with the Romeo pimp, the type that they really think is their boyfriend, the type that they really, you know, think loved and cared for them, this is probably what they went through. So from the girl's perspective, this is what the Romeo pimp is, from the victim's perspective. He loves me, he provides my needs, he wants me around, he teaches me things, he holds me accountable, he accepts me into his family, and he tells me I'm good at something. Can you see how these Another big trap that society kind of glamorizes through the media is that prostitution is cool. And this will be our last hip-hop reference, because I don't know, maybe that is you guys' cup of tea, but this is more for the younger girls, but just to kind of give you insight into what they're listening to. Here is Nicki Minaj, and she is, actually she was a judge on American Idol, so she's pretty mainstream. Anybody heard of Nicki Minaj? Okay, so you guys, all right, I gotta check your iPods. So her stance is, you know what, I'm gonna use what I got to get what I want. And all these beep want me. Some of her lyrics, bad beep, I'm your leader. Give me all your money, then slap it on my beep. And these are her songs. And, you know, give me all your money, then slap it on my, if that's not a proud prostitute, I don't know what is, you know. And if we really look at the lyrics that our young women are listening to, it's not hard to see where they can think that, oh, sex is casual, and it is something that can be used for my advantage as long as I'm getting money out of it. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I run the library, and the girls are up there listening to these videos. I'm getting timers to put on them so they can't listen to them all that long. Anyways, and it's like all day long. No, get off that. Get off that one. Get off that one, because it's reference after reference after reference after reference.
Yep.
To girls are never, they're called bees, they're called hoes, they're never called women.
Right.
They're called every horrible word you can think of.
And having a trauma-informed mindset really means stripping yourself of any judgment of, you know, common sense, what common sense should be. Like, oh, why would they think this is socially acceptable? It's clearly not. But if you think about, anybody ever been in a car accident? Okay. Or did anybody watch 9/11 happen on TV? And think about in that moment, for those seconds, how dazed, how disoriented you were. Think about, you know, something happens mentally where you're not really thinking clearly, and that was only for a few seconds. But think about for these girls, they've been in this traumatic state for weeks, months, maybe even years. And so a lot of times their mental processes are not going to be what you would normally think. So sometimes we want girls to be so like well-behaved and, oh, don't be that loud, or, you know, don't do that. They have a right to be angry and they're hurt. And we want to make sure they don't hurt themselves or others in the process of releasing, you know, some of those emotions. But it's good for them to break the numb. Because during my experience, I became completely numb. And that is definitely part of the healing process. And if it comes out as anger at first, or aggression, or yelling, or rebelling, that's better than the numb. You want them to express. And this is an example of how motivational conversation can play out. Are you okay with that?
Sure.
Okay. How motivational conversation can play out between staff and one of the girls. So we're just going to read the first portion of it. And as we go through, look for examples of how the staff member is removing judgment and is not arguing the girl's logic. Because any little inference, even if it's, you know, clothed in, well, sweetie, that's not really love. If he loved you, he wouldn't take your money. All she's going to hear is that I'm unlovable and this person thinks I'm stupid. All right. So let's start with staff.
Do the staff?
Yes.
Okay. Are you happy here?
Not really.
Well, why not?
I'm just not.
If you could go to another place, where would you rather be?
I don't know.
Yeah, I've talked to some of the other girls. They say they miss their freedom and some of their friends.
Yeah, y'all don't let us go nowhere.
I just want to kind of go back to what you're saying about the motivational piece. I think it's important to recognize that in some instances we're trying to do like a lot of like, how do you fix this? What's the issue? Trying to put the kids, like tell the kids, oh, you should be doing this instead. We have to get away from that. Because that's not the point. Actually, that's not the point of any of this. This is just about, this is the basis for building a relationship.
Trust.
How you open
Yep.
up relationships. And it's not by when the kid says, oh, I'm so bored out of my freaking mind that, you know, I hate this effing place. And we go, oh, well, you know, I mean, if you have a relationship with a kid, sure, you can say, well, remember last time you told me that, you know, you liked it better than being in camp? And, you know, because what did you say about camp? What was it about? Oh, yeah, we had to walk in a straight line all the time. You know,
right.
The same thing. It's just about, it's opening up a conversation without being direct, like, hey, girls, tell me about all this crap that ever happened in your whole life. You know, like, hey, who are you? You know?
Yeah.
But it's just about, it's not so much about there's like a goal in mind of one particular thing that we're dealing with at that point. Like you said earlier, it's over long term.
Long term.
So it's developing and building relationships. And sometimes I think we get focused on, because there are many things that the kids have to get to. And, you know, staff are responsible for doing that. But it's not just about those things. It's finding that balance with how are you building relationships in those moments that you have with them.
Exactly. That is an excellent piece to end on. Thank you so much for that. That it's about trust, compassion, and giving hope. And the answers are inside of them. There's nothing you can say that's going to have something turn on in her head and say, oh, that pimp didn't love me. Or even though all these songs and videos and everything make it look glamorous, it's not. she has to come to that on her own. And it's not going to come from your opinion. So as much as you want to remind them of what's right versus wrong, refrain from all of that. It has to come from her. And she's going to be comfortable to get to that point when she has a trusting relationship with you because you've not judged her.